Whether you're in the Oak Jazz Band, McAuliffe Jazz Band, or the high school jazz program, we're also very grateful that we had Mr. Chuck Wackerman do so much for us and lay the foundation. And I'm very honored that I have the opportunity to teach here at the high school with these amazing students. And I had the honor of working with Chuck while I was at Oak Middle School. He had the McAuliffe Oak Jazz Band when I first got there. And I met him, and actually I met him in college. My saxophone teacher, Leo Potts, said, he said, Justin, he said, my master teacher, his name is Chuck Wackerman. My saxophone master teacher, student taught with Chuck Wackerman. He goes, you should go meet him. He's down the corner in Los Alamitos. I said, where's Los Alamitos? I had no idea where that was, right? And Chuck and I told the story before, we had lunch at Sizzler. And that's the only time I've ever been, I've eaten it once before, once after that. And he came and showed me the room, and we talked, and the rest is history. You know, he was, so, and to speak about the history, I would like to turn it over to our guests here. So Chad, may I start with you? Chad, tell us a little bit about who your father was and how he developed such a love for jazz in this community, and how he helped encourage you in your career.
Sure, but before we get to that, I want to just thank Justin Padilla for putting on tonight. It makes me sad because you've done such amazing work with all these kids. It shows. To talk about my father, so we lost, my dad was 91 when he passed. It was August 20th. He taught for 66 years. He started in 1957 at McGaw, before Los Alamitos existed, I think, the schools. Eventually, Seal Beach School District became part of, this became part of Los Alamitos, so he transferred over here. In I think it was 71, he started the first elementary school jazz band. At that time, McGaw was 3rd through 8th grade. And I was in it. I was maybe 10, I guess. And he figured, well, my brother played bass, so we had bass and drums, and then it was all brand new. It wasn't a class in the school, it was after hours. We rehearsed from 6 to 8, 5 days a week. There was no music for elementary school jazz at that point, so Dad hired people like John Prince. I know Coralie Prince is here tonight. Coralie wrote out she copied the music for us. So to write for an elementary school jazz band as an arranger, it has its own challenges because you have limited range with the horns. You can't make things too fast or too crazy, but you want it to sound good. So anyway, Dad had a history of always hiring these great arrangers, guys like Don Rader and Alf Clausen and Bill Liston, Tom Kubis. And anyway, where this all came from was Dad's passion. Dad wanted to be, in his younger days, he wanted to be a big band drummer. Even though he went through school, got his master's degree at USC on trumpet. And I think at the time, in the marching band at USC was Charles Lloyd and Herb Alpert. Good combination. But anyway, Dad's passion for music was really, you just felt it in the room, and so rather than being a professional musician, he thought, well, I'll teach kids jazz. Why not? So Dad used to say, he's had so many talented kids, and some with natural talent and some with not natural talent. And he used to say, the ones that succeed are the ones who work hard, not necessarily the ones who have natural talent, and the ones who, he didn't care if you went on to be a professional musician or not, it didn't matter. But he just had this passion, which was just, he just felt it, and the kids felt it, and it was fun. And it was, as you know, as parents and as kids here, being in a music department, especially when it's strong as this, it's like your tribe. It's beyond, you have the commonality of music, but you also have your social world built in. You have friends, you have it's really easy to share and have kind of a pathway. And I think Dad knew that, and he pulled out amazing things out of kids, but it was all to do with working hard, and he set up things and inspired them too. He hired professionals eventually to come in, eventually it became a class, and he thought, well, we have this, I know this big band trumpet player, Bobby Shue, and got him to come down and rehearse the band. We did a concert with Louis Belson was our first concert, and then Louis played with the kids, and kind of like we're getting to do today. And it, that stuff is super inspiring, and it builds more confidence in the band and more individual confidence. And he was just incredibly dedicated and brought joy to his passion, to the kids. And I think it just was a great combination. And this is the 50th anniversary so it started off at McGaw, I think in the 70s. Some of the bands that he had as fundraiser concerts that I remember: Louis Belson, Shelley Mann, Maynard Ferguson, Bill Watrous, Frank Rosalino, Cat Anderson, then later on Gordon Goodwin's band, Tom Kubis's band. I'm probably forgetting about 12 more. Ed Shaughnessy, Carol Kay, Tom Scott, all these. And Dad would always get these artists to do clinics for the band as well. So it was just a win-win, and he just loved it. Dad had to stop because of COVID. That's the only reason he had to stop. He didn't want to stop. One of the, towards the end there, when a friend of ours asked him, what do you miss about teaching? And he said, everything. So that kind of wraps up that.
Could you give us a little bit about your career and where your dad has encouraged you and allowed you and inspired you to move in your own personal world?
Sure. So Dad started me. He started all of us, but he didn't believe in teaching his own kids because Dad was busy as well. I was fortunate because Dad's favorite musician at the time was Louis Belson, and he called it Louis through the pro drum shop friends that we knew, because Louis would hang out there. And if you don't know Louis Belson, to me he was on par with Buddy Rich, and he also wrote music, so I think he's a brilliant composer and arranger as well. Louis didn't have the time to teach, but he said, I think you should go to my teacher. And so both my dad and I studied with Murray Spivak, who was an amazing drum teacher guru who taught specifically hand technique and reading, not drum set. For drum set, we took lessons from Chuck Flores, both my dad and I at the same time. And then all my brothers, I'm the eldest, and my brother Bob is a great bass player and producer. My brother John is a really great mallet player and drummer. He's played with Lindsey Buckingham and Kazumi Watanabe and Brian Auger and all sorts of people. And my youngest brother Brooks is in Avenged Sevenfold. He's done many other punk and metal bands that are super famous. We all took lessons from Murray, and including Bob. Bob, as a bass player, learned how to read better through taking from Murray. From there, I went to Cal State Long Beach, and through John Prince's program. I wasn't there very long, but I met Tom Kubis, and I met a handful of musicians who I still work with today. They were just incredibly disciplined people and fun. Jim Cox was the key person I met who got me onto many gigs because he was a musical director for so many people. I became, for myself, I was in a tight rhythm section, and people would hire the rhythm section for Bill Watrous' band, and also for Leslie Uggams touring, and then for some fusion stuff, and then we were back different R&B singers because we were a very tight unit. Then from there, I auditioned for Frank Zappa when I was 21, and I got the gig, and then spent 7 years with Frank. Then also at the same time, I was playing with Alan Holdsworth. Got another audition through him, who's I think a genius composer and guitarist. And then from there, I freelanced. I had my own band. I write music myself. I've got 5 albums out, and it just keeps on going. You know, you never stop. You never feel that's it. I can relax now. You know, it's just a continuous thing. And so I've been lucky.
Thank you. Sophia, tell us a little bit about your origin story and what you are currently doing in the music field.
My origin story really starts with Chuck, because, you know, he was the musical patriarch of the Wackerman family. He taught my dad, I mean, you know, all of us really, he's instilled that love of music in all of us. And I was like very influenced by jazz, I think, growing up. You know, you were all playing it around the house and stuff, and I would constantly get to like sit in on Chuck's rehearsals and stuff and everything, and I would come to every single big band concert. I would sit like right over there. And I ended up doing show choir here, and then I was very much like, oh yeah, I want to do you know, commercial music. I want to do pop. Like jazz is not for me. And then I end up getting into UCLA for the jazz program. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I secretly have loved it this entire time. And so I studied, I got my Bachelor of Arts and majored in jazz, just graduated in June, which was super, super fun. While I was, it was hard, thank you. And while I was there, I, like on a whim, auditioned for American Idol because someone reached out to me and I was like, this will be funny. And ended up getting really far, and it was during the COVID season, so there were a lot of like wrenches thrown in the process, but I got to meet a lot of really, really amazing, well-connected people through that, and started really writing a lot myself and kind of delving into songwriting and co-writing and just sort of exploring like who I am as an artist and all that.
Sophia, just so you know, we all watched you on American Idol. We know about that.
Very nice. Thanks. Thanks. Truly thanks. So I was doing that while studying jazz, so I kind of was in these two different worlds of like songwriting and pop, and then also jazz. And I was like, I kind of want to like see what would happen if I fused the two together. So during and since college, I've been writing a lot. My main gig now is like I'm a writer first, singer second, I think. So I've just been sort of leaning into like the original music stuff and collaborating with people and putting out my own stuff and, you know, trying to connect the jazz roots and, you know, sprinkle a little bit of pop, sprinkle a little bit of folk and rock and stuff and see how far I can push those fusions together. No one's fired me yet, so. I, this past week actually, just signed my first record deal, so that was... So that's the summary of my career, my roots in my career. That answers your question.
Sophia James. John, you're in a pretty unique position where you're an educator, and you travel the world doing what you're doing today. So tell us a little bit about your story and how our parents and our community can be encouraged about what this all means from the outsider's perspective.
This is super cool tonight, and I'm very honored to be part of this. It definitely feels like a beautiful community, and it feels like a beautiful family that that's got each other's back. And I think that the reason why everybody's coming together is that's the most beautiful part, because it's for the students. And it reminded me actually of being in middle school and being in high school And I had similar experiences. I was very fortunate to be in band programs that were supportive like this one. And as Chad was saying, these experiences as a young person, socially, you take that, you remember that, you take that experience with you for the rest of your life, whether you, become a professional musician or you just take it with you in whatever walk of life you choose, because it's a sense of community, it's a sense of playing for something that's bigger than any one individual, and the way all of the social dynamics work, it's really part of something that's so much bigger than any one individual. And so I love seeing that, and I love seeing how everybody comes together, and it's such a great service. And it comes from this gentleman, it comes from these folks up here, and everybody out there in the audience, and it's all to serve these young students here, so that warms my heart.
Mr. Harrell, Mr. Fontaine, and all the private teachers here in the community as well, right? Where are you at right now? Where are you teaching?
I am in Miami. I'm the chair of the jazz department at the Frost School of Music at the University of Miami.
So if any students here see themselves continuing music in college, this is a fantastic place. That you've been there for 8 years?
Yeah, 10 years now.
10 years, yeah, and the program has exploded over there, and we see them at Monterey Jazz Festival all over. Amazing. So if I was a student, I would want to go to university.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah.
You got some scholarships.
Well, that was my audition back there. So, ladies and gentlemen, John Daversa, Chuck Wackerman.